You look at the athleticism, right? And you look at defensive coordinators when you're trying to game plan for a guy like that, it's hell and high waters trying to figure out how you're going to stop him. Now, I think Justin Fields this season, I think he's going to take a major leap because now he has a number one wide receiver in DJ Moore. The offensive line is better. But I think something that's more important, he has stability now. You talk about the front office, you talk about the coaching staff. He's year two in that system, and his mind isn't going to be racing, trying to figure out what he has to do. Do I go here? Do I go there? You're more comfortable in the system. But then I think another guy that they have in Chase Claypool, if they can get Chase Claypool to get on board and start to do right, I think Justin Fields is going to have a phenomenal year. But when you're a defensive coordinator and you got to try to game plan for the athleticism and the legs of an opposing team's quarterback, that is hard as hell to do.
Can you stop tampering with the witness, please?
I didn't say a word. I did not say a word.
Yeah, the best quarterback in this division to me is going to be Jordan Love, and I love when quarterbacks sit. We forget that the quarterback position is a developmental one, and I know this. When we traded for Brett Favre, you could hear it in their voice. They were really comfortable with this young first-round pick who was unproven. His name happened to be Aaron Rodgers. And when you look at the way the Green Bay Packers have comported themselves this offseason, it's identical. They didn't fly out to California to beg Aaron Rodgers to come back. They know exactly what they have in Jordan Love, which, by the way, is the best running back duo in the league in Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. 9 first-round picks on defense and 2 really good young receivers that they drafted last year in Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. So if Jordan Love just plays point guard, relies on 2 great running backs and a really good defense, Green Bay wins the division. Sorry, Shay.
Sorry.
And they have a bright young quarterback. And if we could trust Green Bay on one thing, it's quarterbacks. Favre to Rodgers and now Rodgers to Jordan Love, they are acting the exact same way they did a decade ago.
That just simply isn't fair. If Green
Bay
can go from
Favre
to Rodgers to Jordan Love being successful, can we talk some sense into this group, Louis Riddick? Who do you think is the best quarterback in this division?
Yeah, you know what? Like we just willfully ignore certain things and certain players based upon our preconceived notions about these guys, right? On the upside and on the downside. And on, Jared Goff last year in Detroit, when they won 8 out of 10 games to end the season, okay? 8 out of 10 games. He finished 5th in the league in adjusted QBR, 2nd in the league in QBR in the pocket, 2nd in the league in QBR in the fourth quarter. I mean, what more do you want this guy to do in this offense in particular, based on what he showed last year, in order to say, like, right now going into this year, when we're talking about quarterbacking, throwing the football, making good decisions, making good decisions against good opponents, not just putting up big yards against lesser opponents. This guy was playing good against some good defenses. And he is someone who now, in the second year in this system where he is supported, has a young up-and-coming offensive coordinator in Ben Johnson who's going to wind up being a head coach, has a top 2 or 3 offensive line in all of football in Detroit. Yes, the Detroit Lions have a top 2 or 3 offensive line. It's Kansas City, Philadelphia, and Detroit. Those are the top 3 offensive lines in the NFL. He has got Jahmyr Gibbs, who they just drafted in the first round, Alabama, who's a pass-catching phenom, who's like Marshall Faulk-light, Christian McCaffrey-light, until he has to prove it in the NFL. But this guy is a home run hitter. He's got David Montgomery, who comes over from Chicago. They draft Sam Laporta out of Iowa, who is now another one of those long list of Iowa tight ends, who's going to be a pass-catching phenom. This guy tore it up last year, and the statistics back it up. And when you watch it subjectively, you can see this is a guy who looks totally different than he looked out in L.A. in the last days of his tenure in L.A. when Sean shipped him off and brought Stafford in there. That's going to be the best quarterback in the North. That's going to be the best team in the North. That's going to be a team that is in the conversation to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. I've said it since January. What Dan Campbell is doing up there, not just with Jared Goff, but with this football team overall, is nothing short of phenomenal. He has got them to buy in. We all laughed when he was talking about biting kneecaps and all that nonsense in his introductory press conference. A lot of football teams would beg to be able to get Dan Campbell to lead their franchise right now. And they have got an all-star coaching staff, a lot of former players that have really connected with the players up there. And one of the players that Mark Brunell, the quarterback coach, has connected with is Jared Goff. Jared Goff's the best quarterback in that division. And Detroit's going to make that known this year.
So who has more to prove at this juncture?
For me, I would say it's Jordan Love with the Green Bay Packers, because when you talk about a guy like Aaron Rodgers, and say you mentioned it when you was talking about the two quarterbacks, 4-time MVP, he has won a Super Bowl, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. But when you look at a guy in Jordan Love, he has not been a starting quarterback in this league. The only start that he had came against Kansas City, and that didn't look good. But also when you look at Jordan Love and you look at how this team is constructed for the Green Bay Packers, they have A.J. Dillon, they have Aaron Jones. They have a solid offensive line with John Runyan, Bakhtiari, and also Elton Jenkins. They have a defensive, if they live up to their capabilities, can be one of the top 5 defense in the National Football League. So I think when it comes to Jordan Love, he has a ton to prove to that organization. Also, we got to remember that second-round draft pick that the Green Bay Packers got from the Jets can turn into a first-rounder. So if that turns into a first-rounder, that could be 2 that the Green Bay Packers have next year in 2024.
Lewis?
I don't think there's any question that it's Aaron Rodgers. Look, because it's a function of expectations. Let me just say something quickly about Green Bay. Look, Jordan Love has started a grand total of 1 entire game. All right, and his top 6 pass catchers, his top 4 wide receivers, his top 2 tight ends are all first or second year players. And so I think right now it's going to be just about growth. It's going to be about, and look, I expect that by the end of the season, that young core is on the up and up, and the future looks super bright in Green Bay. And I'm a big Jordan Love fan. I just don't think that the expectations and the pressure really needs to be on him, other than just to show steady improvement and grow with this young core of wide receivers and tight ends that they have, which I think man for man are spectacular. I think the future is very bright. But when we're talking about pressure, look, Aaron Rodgers, we said early on in this program, and I've said, look, I believe this is Super Bowl or bust. It's AFC Championship or bust. Aaron Rodgers did not go to Green Bay just as a golden parachute. I mean, go to New York and get a golden parachute to just kind of like float on into retirement. He's supposed to elevate an organization that hasn't had success at the highest level in decades. That's what he's charged with. He's charged with being a past 4-time MVP that needs to bring some of that four-time MVP pixie dust to this organization. And it's not just magic. Look, he's done it. He's earned it. He has proven that he's one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Now he needs to make this football team, this wide receiver core, this young wide receiver core, this young tight end core, this young running back core, this championship caliber defense. He needs to make them better. And quite honestly, even at soon to be 40 years old, he has to make this offensive line better. He has to get the ball out of his hands quick. He has to be one of those guys who's able to utilize play action pass to its utmost. He needs to be a guy who can really, raise the level of every single person in that organization. And it doesn't just stop with the people on the football field. He needs to make the coaches look better. He needs to make Nathaniel Hackett look better. He needs to make Robert Saleh look better. He needs to do all of this because that is the kind of DNA that he has. That's the kind of resume that he brings. That's the resume that Tom Brady brought with him from New England to Tampa. And look at what he did. Look at what he did. It's already been proven that this kind of thing can be done. And that is the expectation now, especially with a guy like him that is given everything that he wants at his new place in order for them to get to the highest level. So for Aaron, look, I know what you've done in the past, man. You're going to have a gold jacket for it. And hopefully I'll still be around to where I can talk about it at the Hall of Fame enshrinement. But what you did in the past doesn't matter. It's about what you're going to do for this football team this year. And the bright lights are going to be white hot on him all year. And deservedly so. For Jordan Love, just show improvement. Because I think in the next 2 to 3 years, Green Bay is going to be rocking on offense. They've got nothing but youth and playmaking ability all over the place at their skill positions. If Jordan Love can just improve steadily, Green Bay is set up for some serious future success.
Yeah, for me, it's Jordan Love. And this will be the year that he's going to determine his NFL career. Is he going to be a starter or, Harry, you alluded to before, they may have 2 first-round picks. If I'm the Green Bay Packers, I need to know, are we going to be able to win a lot of games with Jordan Love? And can he be our fixture to compete against the Hall of Famer in Justin Fields there, Shea? Or is he just going to be, a guy that's more of a journeyman? And I understand what Lewis is saying, but to me, Aaron Rodgers is an all-time great regardless of what happens this year. So to me, what I have to see out of Jordan Love is his mental toughness. And what I mean by that is when they lose a game and he throws 3 picks, do his teammates believe at that Wednesday's practice following that game that Jordan Love can take them to where they want to go? If the answer is yes, he could be there for a long time. But this is truly the transformational moment of his career.
Which team do you think can go from worst to first in their division?
Yeah, it's a New York Jets type of day. Look, that's the team in the East, all right? And you know what's interesting is, like, the team who I picked to win the East, that being Miami, kind of has, like, one of the same issues that maybe the Jets have in terms of, is their offensive line going to hold up? Is Tua going to stay healthy? If they do, I believe they win the division. Buffalo could probably make the same case. Look, if Josh Allen stays healthy and the drama stays down in Buffalo, they are able to rush the passer with efficiency like they weren't at the end of the year last year, which basically was their undoing, then they'll be there. You know, New England, I just don't think New England has the firepower to really be there. I just don't think that offensively they have given Mac enough in order for them to be able to score points with the rest of the teams in the AFC, like the Jets, that if their offensive line develops, they already have a championship caliber defense. They have arguably the best defense in the division this year. I'm just talking about projecting forward to this year. And they have as good a set of skill position players as anyone in their division. And they have a quarterback that, when he is at the top of his game, is in the running for being the best quarterback in the division. It'll be between him and Josh Allen, although Tua is going to put up some spectacular numbers this year. I think he goes over 4,000 yards passing. Tyreek goes over 2,000 yards receiving. So the division is loaded. Drama aplenty in the AFC East. But the Jets can do it. They can make that run. Things have to break their way. Just like every team that's trying to go from worst to first, things have to break their way. It's not just about what they do. It's about what their opponents do as well. And some things that they do aren't going to be things that are right in their control. It's going to be about them being a little bit lucky, as Andy Reid was talking about in his pre-training camp press conference that he had. So, yeah, the Jets are my pick. We'll see if they can get it done.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be the Atlanta Falcons in the NFC South. And I know this team like the back of my hand. But what they were able to do, the deficiencies the last few years for this team has been the lack of pass rush and also their secondary. But what they did in free agency and being able to go get Calais Campbell, Jesse Bates III in the secondary, Mike Hughes, being able to trade for a corner in Jeff Okudah, I think it's going to be phenomenal for Atlanta. Also, they went and got Bud Dupree, Keaton Ellis, and took away Ryan Nielsen, the defensive coordinator that the New Orleans Saints had last season. So when I look at the Atlanta Falcons and how they're constructed, and a lot of people may ask, a lot of people may say, okay, what about the quarterback position? When you have a young quarterback, Mike T, you understand this being a former GM, you have to surround that quarterback with talent. They went and drafted Bijan Robinson. They were 4th in the National Football League last year in rushing. They have Drake London. Kyle Pitts is coming back. They also traded for Jonnu Smith, another tight end. And the offensive line, in my opinion, is solid. So when you look at the Atlanta Falcons and how they're constructed, I think this is a team that can go from worst to first in the NFC South.
Yeah, actually, I had Atlanta as well. I think Harry saw my notes and then decided. But for similar reasons. But I would say this, the biggest question mark they have is Desmond Ridder at quarterback. But what's interesting to me, guys, is who is the best quarterback in the NFC South? They're all question mark. You know, how is Derek Carr going to do his first year as a Saint? Bryce Young, tons of talent, but obviously he's a rookie. And is it Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay? So I agree with a lot of what Harry said, but to me, I really don't know about Desmond Ridder, if he could do it or not. But the other three quarterbacks are big question marks as well. And when I think about those skill players of Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and Bijan Robinson, who's actually a great receiver as well, that's going to give Desmond Ridder the best chance to be successful.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.